All right, guys, welcome to. I almost said the Afrocentrist podcast. No. All right, guys, welcome to Stretch Street Podcast, where we document the stretch stories of people who have been through challenging seasons. They got stretched, but they didn't snap. So we want to uncover how they were able to, navigate through those seasons and draw out the life lessons that these experiences taught them. So today, I have a special guest on the show. When I saw his name first, I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be my brother, but this one that is not in Nigeria. Am I sure this is not a lost brother? And then, well, apparently it turns out he's a lost brother. But and it's interesting to know that his dad is Nigerian, but he visited Nigeria for the first time after so many years. And but I'm glad that at least he did visit and he did love it there. And he said, I could travel maybe again in some years, in a few years to come. And that's at least that's good to know, like, okay, he wants to visit home again. But anyways, let us get to meet my guest today, and then we'll go into the conversation to have him tell us about his stretch story. Now, my guest today is a comedian and an author. What a combination. Anyways, let me allow him introduce himself to us today. Hi, you're listening to Stretch Street Podcast.
Stretch Street Podcast
Stretch Street with the energetic EJ.
with the energetic EJ.
With the energetic EJ.
Don't stop listening. Hi and welcome to Stretch Streets. Ooh.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Yeah,
Do
thanks
they
for
call you
having me.
Jerry for short?
No, nobody does that. Everybody asks that. Everybody asks that, but nobody says that. So,
All right, awesome. So
yeah.
let us meet you. What is your name and where are you from?
Yeah, Jeremiah Ukponrefe. That's my last name, which I feel like you can get it, but most people are like, "What's that? What's your last name?" But yeah, Jeremiah Ukponrefe. I'm from Vancouver. Just recently moved out to Toronto just a few months ago. Yeah, dad's Nigerian, and like you mentioned, I went there recently. Do you have another podcast though? Because you said like, "Oh, I almost said this podcast." So,
Yeah,
oh,
I
you have
used to,
two. Oh,
yeah, that was the former name of my podcast before I rebranded to this one.
okay, okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
sweet.
Okay, so what do you do again? What do you do?
I'm a author and stand-up comedian. So
Hmm.
yeah, put both of those
So
things. Yeah,
I'm supposed to laugh a lot in this
yeah.
interview.
I mean, don't put that pressure on me now. Now I'm like, now I have to be funny. I shouldn't have mentioned comedian because now there's.
Sorry, too
Oh,
late to
okay.
apologize.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So, what is your philosophy about life?
Oh my God. I mean, philosophy. I would say just you got to figure that out yourself. Figure it out yourself. That's my philosophy because I've had to figure out a lot of stuff myself.
Hmm.
So I think I can't tell someone else what's for them and what's not for them. So figure it out yourself is
Absolutely,
it's my
absolutely
philosophy.
great. Okay, I know you're a comedian. I know you're an author, but please tell us something fun about you.
Oh, something fun. I box, so I mean, people shouldn't mess with me. That's what I mean. But I
Nice.
don't tell people I box because I want people to mess with me, so then they're surprised when I if I get in a
Woo!
fight. That's, yeah. So yeah.
Well, I look. Anyways,
All right.
I read your description, and it felt like, yeah, you have a mix of innocence. Like, oh, he's an innocent boy, but then you
Yeah.
come with a surprise. Okay, that's cool. That's a good one. Anyways, nice to meet you, and thank you for coming on the show today. So, what led you to this place of why did you choose being an author and then a stand-up comedian? What's your stretch story? What are those challenging moments that I mean, again, like you said, you like to figure things out. So, how did you
Yeah.
get here?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the writing. Is I wasn't really doing much with my life at the time. I was probably just really young, maybe 19, 20, and I liked writing before, but I didn't actually have the work ethic to do it. So I think I was like, oh, when I was a kid, I liked writing, and then when I was like a teenager, I did a little bit of writing, but I never actually sat down and finished anything. But then I watched a random YouTube video on script writing, just random video, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start doing that. So then I did, and then I wrote pretty much every day. I wrote a really first thing I wrote was like a really terrible TV show, which I wrote like 8 episodes of just this like really awful, awful show. It doesn't make any sense. Like I don't. It was the worst thing ever. And then I wrote a movie that was like, just a fun script, and it was also pretty bad. And then I wrote a book that's, pretty okay. So, there was a lot in between that, and there was a lot of challenges, mostly just sitting down and doing it every day and just making sure that, hammering it out and having that discipline. And then stand-up comedy, the way I started it was I was just watching stand-up on TV one time, and then I think I just had that thought of I want to try stand up. And I didn't do it for like a year, but from that thought to actually doing it, it took a very long time to actually, have the courage to go up and do it. So yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, wow. So, what are some of the most challenging moments? Let us take it from the writing angle. I mean, from what you said, it felt like the discipline was the thing. So, how were you able to finally overcome the discipline to then sit down to write the book?
I think the thing is, I never really had problems with doing down and sitting down and doing it pretty much every day. Like I would do it. I've been writing 95% of days for years, so I never actually had a problem with the discipline. It's just the pain is every day that I don't feel like doing this today. But I never really struggled. I had more struggled with the business side of writing and the
Oh,
technical
okay.
side of writing, that and the marketing. That's actually the bigger struggle for me than just the sitting down and actually doing it. So that's the part for me that was really tough.
But why did you feel like you needed to handle that part? Like, I mean, there were what publishers around that could
Yeah.
help you, or marketers that were trained for that purpose. What made you feel like you wanted to do it yourself?
Well, I think for me is I want to learn everything, like the things in this industry from the ground up. So then it's once I've acquired certain knowledge, I can understand how certain things work, and I can have strong marketing skills, strong sales skills. I'd rather learn all this stuff. So then it's when I do get to a point where I have someone else helping me, I also have my own knowledge that I can bring that will enhance instead of just this person tells me what to do and okay, they know best because sometimes people don't, and it's good to know this stuff yourself. So yeah,
Absolutely. So, how has that journey been for you? So, were you able to adapt that to your stand up comedy to say, okay, I really also want to learn how to market myself as a stand up
yeah.
comedian without needing a manager for starters?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still definitely a work in progress. I'm not where I want to be, but definitely yes, it helped me with getting the mindset of this is a business. This isn't just I have passion and it's going to work out. Like you have to you have to you have to, have it's helped with the business side of realizing that the business is actually very important and just trying to build that up, and it's been a huge help honestly, and it's taught me the lesson of sometimes you're going to lose money, make money. You got to be on time with your own deadlines that you're setting for yourself, or else things just pile up. So it helps quite a bit. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what are some one, two, three lessons that you've learned as a business creative, or do I put it this way? For or in the business side of creating, because again you mentioned something very interesting about, it's not just about passion. You can be
Yeah.
passionate, you can be talented as well, but if you don't
Yeah.
understand the business of your talent, then it's just good, like nothing's going to happen. So
Exactly.
far, what have you learned that you can share with us?
Well, to say three things. So I would say the number one thing for me is when you're when you're hiring somebody to help you out with something, because I don't do my own graphic design for my posters or whatever, or editing my own book. My number one thing is when you're hiring, get a professional. That's something you have to do. It's worth it in the big picture. That's probably my number one. Number two is you're gonna need help. You can't do everything yourself. You're gonna need allies. You're gonna need friends in the business. You don't have to be friends with everybody, but you're going to need help and you're gonna need friends. And the number one three thing is kind of a contradiction, but you can't be friends with everybody. That's the thing too, is you have to be very careful about who you're around, who's in your circle. And stand up is tough because you don't really control who you're around a lot, but you can still keep a distance from certain people. So
Fantastic. So, as a stand-up comedian, what was the most embarrassing moment of your of your career so far?
oh, this isn't even a career, but I had a date. I had a date, and this is a girl who I didn't really know, but we just met. I got her number. I was like, so we go out, we go for a drink before the show. It's going well. I like this girl. I'm like, wow, I like this girl. So then we go to the venue. We're in the corner. We're making out. I'm like, yeah, this is good. So then I go to the show where she's going to watch me, and there's no audience. It's just comedians at the show. And they've all heard my material before, so I have to do new material that you don't know if it works. It didn't work. And then I go up there and I just sit there, and that was that. And she was like, and then I was like, yeah, I'll text you. And she was like, okay, like, yeah. So yeah, that was the worst move. I don't even care about the career. I like that girl. I was like, I would have quit stand up that day if I
Oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So you guys didn't talk again since then? Oh,
No, I think that's like
oh.
I'm probably like a story she tells her friends. Like that's how bad. Yeah, it was.
Did it ever cross your mind that someday when you become big, she's gonna come up and say, "Do you
Yeah, I
remember
hope
me?"
so. Yeah, I hope so. That's like half my motivation. Like that's like
That's good. That's good. So tell us a little bit about your book.
yeah. It's a sci-fi novel, so it's like an alien invasion sci-fi story where it's a world where there is an invasion, and then a lot of humanity was wiped out. Turns into a dystopian world, but humans beat the alien for the most part. There's still remnants of it around, but then eventually the humans find out, and the main characters, that there's more of the alien than they originally thought, and that there's more to the alien and to the world than they originally thought. So they have to discover that along the way.
What inspired this?
Um, it actually started with like a image in my head of four main characters in the military running from like a hive mind alien thing, and then there was this idea that I had that they were going to disable it using some kind of technology, but then I won't go because there's a little spoilery stuff in there. So it was going to be revealed that one of the characters was an android, but that twist didn't actually work in the story, so I had to cut it. So the twist that inspired the story wasn't even in the book.
Oh
So yeah,
wow, that's
but that was just
interesting.
it was just an image in my head, and then I just started figuring it out as I went.
Awesome, awesome. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I mean, again, I love the lessons that you've highlighted. Those are very important, especially for those of us who are creatives. Sometimes
Yeah,
we're just so carried away by our passion that we forget that there's a business to be done here. And there's one thing that I have noticed that a lot of creative people struggle with. I would love to hear your thought about that before we round off this session, which is negotiation. What is your take on negotiation? Are you very good at it, or is this something like it's a work in progress? What are the challenges you have with negotiating?
yeah. I mean, I think that I'm very average at negotiating. I do need to get a little bit better. I think that I always come at something with like I don't try to be nice or anything. I always try to come with it like, for example, if I start a show at a venue, I always say, "Hey, I keep ticket sales, you guys keep drink sales," and that's like a good goal. But then some venues will be like, "Oh, can we get some percentage of the ticket sales?" And then what I usually do is I'll say, "Okay, if they ask for 80, or if they ask for like 20%, I'll be like, oh, what about 10%? Because we have all these expenses on our side." I do need to get better at asking for more because I hate being like a bother of like, oh, could I struggle with like, because I don't know what their reaction is going to be. And I would think,
Yeah.
oh, am I going to lose this completely if I overstep the boundary and seem entitled. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Because I think a lot of us have that issues, and I'm actually working on putting a workshop together to tackle it for people from industry experts who have been able to overcome that, so that we can deal with
Right.
it, because it's very, very important as creatives. And it's why we probably don't get the best out of every deal,
Yeah.
because our negotiation skill is lacking. But thank you so much, Jeremiah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you would leave a last word for any young person watching or listening to this right now who is thinking of maybe being a comedian one day, or I mean, you have two lines. Like, I don't know if they are, anyways, they're still performing, whether you're writing or you're a comedian, because again, writers often tend to become speakers. So
Mm.
if there is a young person watching this and they're like, okay, I want to, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to be. Will people accept me? Will anybody even laugh at my jokes? Like, what would you
Yeah.
say to them?
Buy my book. Like that's what I was saying. At www.jeremiahu.com. That's what. No, man. Oh man. I mean, honestly, if you're really thinking about being a comedian or trying it, my advice would just be figure out the structure of how a joke works, write 5 minutes of material, find an open mic, and just start. It's one of those things where you have to just start because there's no you can write an hour of material in your room and you have to just do it. That's the whole thing with doing stand up. And understand one thing I'd understand about being a stand up comedian too, is it's based on relationships. It's based on the social side. So you can't be a big loner and sit in the corner. That's what I did for a long time. It really is based on the social side aspect of it, which is tough, but it's just the connections are just what it is. So yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. You gotta stand up if you want to be a stand-up comedian, because you can't do it sitting down. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for sharing your story with us today. I wish you all the best in your career as a comedian. I love how you said it, and I hope that you're able to manifest it, that you're gonna be a big deal soon. And we're going
Yeah.
to be like, oh my God, Jeremiah was
Yeah.
on my show.
Yeah, make that like the one just this episode. Just yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Do have a fantastic weekend, and bye bye.
Stretch Street Podcast.